Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there, me, you, anyone out there, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one show. This masterclass here that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to get people to listen to you. Now, it has been said by me and by others, I'm sure, that while everyone is entitled to an opinion, actually, I'm not going to give anyone else credit for this one. I'm the first person I ever heard say this. Everyone is entitled to an opinion, but not everyone is entitled to being listened to. So just because you have an opinion, you have a perspective, you have a POV, it doesn't matter that you have it if you can't get anyone else to listen to it. And just because you have it does not mean anyone has to listen to it. Listening to other people is a trait, usually of people who have good communication skills, because you have to remember that communication is not just in what you say, what you express towards others, but also picking up on what others are expressing towards you. But at the same time, while listening to other people is a trait of those who have good communication skills, life is not an equal opportunity deal. I think most of us understand that when it comes to things such as, let's just say, in sports. In the sports world, everybody doesn't get the same opportunity. There are some players on the team who are going to play more than other players. In the business world, some people are going to get opportunities and chances that other people are just not going to get, because everybody is, even though everyone is created equal, everyone does not remain equal. Everyone doesn't have the same skill set. Everyone doesn't bring the same tools to the table. So just because everyone, almost all of us, have an ability to express ourselves, whether that's through our written word or our spoken word, and through our nonverbal communication. We all have the ability to do that. That doesn't mean everyone is entitled to actually be paid attention to. Doesn't mean everyone gets to be listened to. And doesn't mean that everyone's opinion is weighed equally. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So the topic, once again, is how to get people to listen to you. How do you qualify yourself in the eyes of your audience? And your audience could be one person. It could be 800,000 people. How do you qualify yourself in the eyes of your audience to be someone that is worth being listened to and just following whatever it is that you want to express? Point number one, the saying goes that you can learn something from anyone. I mean, I think everybody's heard that. And often, if you're the type of person who is very discerning when it comes to what you listen to and who you listen to, and maybe you're not really that apt to listen to certain people or even hear what certain people have to say, they may try to admonish you by letting you know, like, hey, you can learn something from anyone. You can learn something by having a conversation with any individual. I know that's happened to me before. And this is true. If you pay close enough attention, if you listen well enough, and if you look hard enough, you can learn something from literally anyone and everyone. The thing is, here's the challenge with that truth, is that with some people, it might take you a little bit too much time and a little bit too much energy to find the one thing from that person that is worth learning. So again, as I said in the beginning, life is not an equal opportunity deal. So what I tell people, and what I'm going to tell you right now, is don't try to learn from everybody, because that's a little bit too much work. And it's a very inefficient process to just say, I'm going to try to learn something from everybody. What you should do instead is decide who you can learn the most from and just stick to those individuals. Right? Because let's say there are two people in the room, well, three people. I walk in the room, I make the third person. There are two other people. There's one person there. I'm not quite sure I can learn anything from this individual. It doesn't seem like they have anything positive going on. It doesn't seem like they have any specialized knowledge or experience or skill that means anything to me, will be beneficial to me in any way. Now, is it possible that I can learn something from this person? Absolutely. And if I try hard enough, will I learn something from this person? Yes. I think if I talk to them for long enough and ask the right questions, I would eventually learn something from this individual. Now, how long would that take? I'm not quite sure. The thing that I learned, would it actually be useful or beneficial to me? I would say probably not. Even though I may be able to learn something from them, but what do they have going on that I need to know? I'm going to judge that person pretty quickly. And as human beings, we are all judgmental individuals. We judge people quickly. And we judge not off of what people say, but we judge off the energy that we pick up from other people, how we feel about their presentation, what we know about them, whatever their reputation would be, the way that they put themselves out into the world, the way that they talk, the energy that they walk into a room with. We judge people off of this. So when you judge that a person may not have much to offer you by way of things that you can learn, usually your instincts are telling you the right thing. Sometimes you could be wrong, but often, depending on how sharp your instincts are, and we just talked about instincts not too long ago. I talked about how to play off instinct, quote unquote, off of instinct in masterclass number 1003. And I also talked about instinct in masterclass number 1448, how to reconnect with your instincts and gut feelings. And the more connected you are to your instincts, the more accurate your instincts will be in telling you what you need to know. So when you notice that one person in the room, back to my analogy or my example, one person in the room, it doesn't seem like I learned much from that individual, but the other person in the room, I know who they are. I know what they have going on. Their reputation precedes them. I know that there's some things I want to ask this person if I ever got a chance to meet them or the next time I saw them. And now here they are in the room. Now, should I give equal time to both of the people in the room? Even though that one of them, I'm not sure I can learn anything from them. It doesn't seem like they have anything positive going for themselves. And the other one, I know exactly who they are, exactly what they're about. And I got plenty of questions I want to ask them that I already been waiting to ask. And now I got my opportunity. Should I give equal time to both of those people? That wouldn't make sense. That would be a bad business move on my behalf, the business of my life. It would be bad business for me to give equal time to both of these people, because the time that I spend talking to the person that I don't think I can learn anything from, all that time that I give to them, the opportunity cost that comes with that time is the time that I could have been spending with the other individual that probably has a lot of stuff that could definitely help me directly and much more immediately. So it'd be a much more efficient use of my time to spend a lot more of my resource, being time, with the person who I know I can learn something from. So as I said, with some people, it would take you too much time and too much energy to find one thing that is worth learning from that individual. So don't try to learn from everyone, even though it is true you could learn from everyone. Don't try to learn from everyone. I mean, you could, if you get strong enough, you could squeeze water out of a stone. If you squeeze it hard enough, you can get some water out of the stone. But it'd be much easier if you just went to the Target and bought a case of bottled water, right? Wouldn't it be much easier to get something to drink if you did it that way rather than trying to squeeze all the water out of the stone? Or you just go to the tap or go to your refrigerator if your refrigerator is such equipped, and push the little button and the water comes out of it automatically, or just turn on the faucet and water comes out. You can get water much more efficiently by doing it that way than trying to squeeze it out of a stone. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So just because you can get a result from doing things a certain way doesn't mean you should try to get a result from doing things a certain way. Decide who you can learn the most from and stick to those individuals. I talked about this in masterclass number 1466. To learning how to curb your mindless information consumption. Sometimes you're consuming mindless information just by talking to the wrong person. Now, it's not just about listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube or reading the wrong blog post. Sometimes it's the people that you're dealing with. So for you, now reverse engineering everything I just said, for you to be listened to by other people, here's a question that you must answer. What specifically can someone get from you, from a conversation with you, that they can't get anywhere else? What do you offer a person who's walking into the room that if they talk to you, they're going to get talking to you that they couldn't get if they talk to any of the other people in the room? What would make that time a good investment for them? And why would they even want it? Now, there may be something that you can offer, something you can tell them, something you can teach them, but why do they want it? Why does it matter to them? How would it affect their life? What benefit does it hold for them? If you can't answer these questions, then you should not be surprised when people don't want to listen to you, or people don't even want to talk to you in the first place, or you're unable just to get people's attention in the first place because you haven't answered the key questions. Because you got to remember, everyone's tuned into the station, what's in it for me, right? WIIFM. It's not about what you know and what you could teach another person. It's about why does what you know matter to another person. So it's putting yourself in the shoes of the other individual, not just about what you think you could give that person, but what how they would benefit from whatever it is you could give them. So if you haven't taken that second step, so you right now, you think you know a lot, there's a lot that you can bring to the table with another person. That's great that you understand it. The next step, and this is the most important step, is how does it matter to that person? Why would it matter to that person? Why would they value it? And if you can't answer that question, then you have not quite positioned yourself to definitely ensure that anyone's going to want to listen to you. So point number 2, today's topic is how to get people to listen to you. The point number 2, the difference between hearing and listening. Let's make sure that we lay these out because they're not the same thing. Hearing is your understanding, just as a human being mechanically, that a sound has occurred. Listening means your understanding of what you hear. So listening, there are levels. When it comes to listening, there's levels to this shit, right? When you're listening to someone, how much you understand what they said, that's your level of listening, or your level of comprehension, I guess we can say. And hearing is just understanding that there's a sound happening, period. So listening requires thinking, requires comprehension, while hearing only requires that your ears work and that your brain works, and the message that comes from your ears to your brain can be translated. Okay, your brain understands that a sound occurred, and your ears and your brain are pretty close to each other, so it shouldn't take long for that transaction to occur. So for you to be listened to, understand that people not only have to understand that you're making a sound, they have to understand more than just the fact that you're talking, or that you're communicating something, or that you wrote something down. Okay, they also had to comprehend and understand what you're saying, which means you need to comprehend and understand what the hell you're saying. If you don't know what the hell you're saying, how would anybody else understand it? If you can't make sense of your ideas, how would anybody else make sense of your ideas? I heard Jim Rohn, who's one of the forefathers of the whole personal development movement from way back in the 70s and the 80s. He said, if it's hard, the better that you can make sense of what it is you want to express to another person, the much easier it will be for other people to make sense of what you're expressing to them. So if you don't understand what it is you want to get across to other people, if you haven't made perfect sense of it, if you can't understand it and break it down and systematize it and codify it in such a way that it makes sense to you, then it'll probably be really hard for it to make sense to somebody else. That is your job, to figure out, well, how does this make sense? How can I synthesize this? How can someone else take this in and get value from it? If you can't answer those questions just with yourself, then it will make sense that other people are confused with what it is you're saying. So even though they may be listening to you, they're not quite comprehending and understanding what you're saying, because you have failed to comprehend and understand it. So it's your job to get that down before you take whatever communication you want to get across, before you put it out to the world. Make sure you have made sense of it yourself, because all you're going to do is confuse other people. All right, does that make sense? You got that? So hearing, again, just means you know that a sound occurred. All right, I can hear that somebody's talking. So you could hear that there's music being played. You can see that somebody wrote something down, but understanding it means that person should have did their homework. That means you the communicator, you got to do your homework and make sure that what you're communicating, that you want to get out to other people. Again, it could be 3 people you're communicating with. It could be 3 million people you're communicating with. You got to make sure that that message makes sense, so that when someone else takes it in, again, not knowing as much as you know, not having been through the experiences that you've been through, that you've crossed all your T's and dotted your I's so that they can understand it, assuming that maybe they're coming from ground zero. What happens often when people are communicating things, especially when they want to step into the platforms of thought leadership and expertise, is they skip steps. Sometimes people use jargon, meaning you're using certain terms that are specific to people who really know a certain area, but you're talking to people who you're assuming that they know that area, but they may not. They may not know it as well as you know it. They definitely probably don't know it as well as you. That's why you're the one on stage, or you're the one on the mic, or you're the one who's writing the book. They don't know what you know. So you can't assume that they know these certain terms, or assume that they understand basic things that you understand like the back of your hand. They may not know them at all. But when you step into the realm of thought leadership, it is your job to consider everything that I'm telling you right now. Like, okay, people might not know these topics. They may not understand these terms. They don't understand. They don't think the way that I think. They don't comprehend things as quickly as I comprehend them. So your job is to break those things down and make sure everyone understands it from a baseline level, level 1. Then you go to level 2, then level 3, then level 4. You can't just start out at level 5 and thinking that everybody understands you, unless you're talking to a specific audience that you already know is at that level, and there's some type of barrier to entry that makes them prove they're at that level before you give them that information. But if you don't know for sure that they are already at a certain level, you got to make sure you're giving them all the baseline stuff so that they can understand what the hell you're trying to communicate. Because if you're talking over somebody's head, they're not going to listen to you, because they can't understand you and they can't comprehend what you're saying. Even though they're hearing you, they're trying to understand and comprehend. They're incapable of it because they don't have the information that you have. So it is your job to understand who your audience is before you start your communication. Because if they don't understand you, if you don't understand them, they can't understand you. Point number 3, today's topic is how to get people to listen to you when you have something that you want to share. Point number 3, you got to give what you wish to receive. We all know the golden rule. Right? The golden rule is do unto others as you wish others to do unto you. So since there are so many people, I think you can co-sign what I'm about to say. There's so many people out there who don't listen these days. These are people who are just waiting for their chance to speak. When you're talking, they're looking at you. They can hear you. Obviously, they can hear you. That's why they're looking at you and giving you attention, but they're not quite focused on what you're saying. They're usually just focused on what they're going to say next. You say something about yourself. The next thing that they say, you might know some people like this. The next thing they say is bringing the conversation right back to focusing on them. So you say something about yourself, like something that you experienced 2 weeks ago, and their response is to tell you how they experienced something like that just yesterday, and they bring the conversation, all the attention of the conversation right back to themselves. So even though they are hearing you, they're not quite listening to you because they're making everything about themselves. And again, all of us know people like this, but none of us claim to be this type of individual. But that's something that you could think about on the way home tonight. And the reason I'm telling you this here in point number 3, following the golden rule, is giving people what you expect to receive. While most people are waiting for their chance to talk again, when you listen and you actually listen, I mean, you are really comprehending what another person is saying. You're really understanding what another person is saying. And as part of your package of communication skills, you're able to reflect back to them what they are communicating to you, not only in the words that they are saying, but also in the things that they're not saying. Maybe the energy that goes along with the words that they're saying, the things that they're saying that maybe you just noticed something out of what they're saying that they didn't quite say directly, but you sense that that might be what they're trying to communicate, because not everybody is as direct a communicator as others. Some people are much more direct than others. Some people kind of dance around what they actually want to say because it's just not their style to be so direct. So when you're dealing with those type of people and you're a good listener, you'll notice what they're saying, even though they're not directly saying it to you. They're not spelling it out for you. And when you're able to communicate that back to a person, what you communicate to them is that you're actually listening. And what makes this a big deal is that so few people listen. So when anyone comes across you, the great listener, the great communicator, listening being part of communication, when someone comes across you as a great listener, they're going to be so surprised, so taken aback in a good way, so probably happy, having such positive energy that, wow, here's someone who actually listens, someone who's actually comprehending what I'm saying, actually understanding me, actually noticing the things that I'm not saying and communicating that back to me, not just waiting for their chance to talk, not just hijacking the conversation and making it all about themselves no matter what I say about myself. Wow, that person's going to be really attracted to you. That person's going to want to stay around you. They're going to want to keep communicating with you, and they're going to want to be your friend just in general, simply because they finally found somebody who will actually listen to them talk. Most people, again, are just waiting for their chance to talk. The law of reciprocity states that whatever you give to another person, we are wired as human beings. They will want to give it back to you. So if you want people to listen to you, the easiest way to do it is to listen to them. Note the energy behind people's words. Notice what they are not saying. Notice what they are kind of saying, but not quite directly saying, but they're alluding to it, because again, it may just be their style, or maybe they're doing it for a certain reason. Who knows? When people can see that you are doing this for them, the law of reciprocity will cause them to at least try to do it for you. Sometimes people will try to give you the reciprocity of listening, but they may not quite be as capable of you. They might not be as good at listening as you are, but they'll try simply because you did it for them. Again, you don't have to tell them this. You don't have to write up a contract. It doesn't have to be a handshake agreement. All you have to do is give people what you want to get back, and they will at least make the effort to give it back to you. They might not, again, be as skilled as you, but they're going to at least make the effort because you made the effort for them. And human beings, we are wired to do this. Again, you don't have to explain it. They don't have to be a certain level of intelligence. It's all part of our wiring, just being human beings, that we're going to try even if we're not good at it. Let's recap today's class, which is how to get people to listen to you. I have said that while everyone is entitled to an opinion, that doesn't mean everyone is entitled to being listened to. Listening is a trait that people who have good communication skills will always display. Listening goes under the umbrella of communication. So I want you to remember, in case you haven't thought about it, communication is not just about how you express to others, but it's also about how you consume what others are expressing to you. But all this being said, life is not an equal opportunity deal. Everyone does not get the same opportunity, and everyone is not entitled to be listened to the same amount and by the same people, even though everyone has something to share. Point number 1. The saying goes that while you can learn something from anyone, that is true, here's the thing that I want you to understand. But some people will be taking too much time and too much of your energy to find the one thing that is worth learning from that individual. So don't try to learn from everybody, because everybody ain't worth being learned from. Go find the people that give you the highest ROI on your listening and learn from those individuals. Like I talked about, you don't have to listen to every guru. You don't have to listen to every mentor and expert out there. I talked about this in masterclass number 552. You don't need all the gurus and experts out there. In masterclass also 283, choosing your gurus and eliminating the rest. And just recently, when I talked about eliminating your mindless information consumption in masterclass 1466, don't try to learn from everybody out there. All right, it's true you can learn from everybody, but you are better off focusing on a handful of people who have exactly what you're looking for, at least in this season of your life, and getting everything you can out of those individuals. So for you to be listened to, here are the questions you must answer. What specifically can someone learn from you that they can't learn in many other places? And why would it matter to them? Why does it benefit them? If you cannot answer these questions, you should not be surprised when nobody's listening to you. You got to have answers to those questions, and you need to present what you offer, what you want to communicate in such a way that people understand those answers very quickly, because people have short attention spans. Point number 2, the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is understanding that a sound occurred, and listening is understanding what you hear. That requires thinking and comprehension. So for you to be listened to, people have to comprehend and understand you, which means you have to comprehend and understand what you're saying before you say it so that other people can understand it. Remember that nobody knows what you know as well as you know it. So you got to be able to break it down and flip it back and forth and upside down in ways that make total sense, no matter who is listening to it, even though they may not be as smart on that subject as you are. You should also always assume that they are not. And point number 3, give what you wish to receive. Golden rule, you already know this. So since so many people don't listen these days, when you do listen, you stand out just by the law of contrast. And people will at least try to give you back the listening that you gave them, even though they may not be as good at it as you. So with the law of reciprocity, if you want people to listen to you, listen to them. Note their energy. Notice what they're not saying. Notice what they're alluding to. Notice the emotion behind what they're saying. When people can see that you're doing this for them, they again will at least make the effort to do it for you, even though they may not be as skilled as you are, because you're such a great communicator. If you haven't read the Leadership Bundle, my 3 books on communication and leadership and dealing with other people and taking it to a master level, you can get those books at workonmygame.com/LB for the Leadership Bundle. Work on your game. Dre all day.